Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule, presented by FanDuel. Today is Friday, December 5th. You're going to hear me say that twice because we have a great interview with Jack Soble. We talked to him about the Notre Dame game over there from the Notre Dame On 3 site. He was live and in person for Notre Dame. Mizzou, we talked to him, and I accidentally also did the intro for the show for that. I don't know if I'll edit it out because I go right into introducing the special guests. It might be clunky, but we'll see. I haven't made that. That's a future Jack problem, or for the people watching, a past Jack problem. Go ahead,
yeah,
Kenny.
9 hours from now, probably Jack problem.
Pretty much, yeah. But Kenny, it's just you and I for right now. Payton Payton was there for the interview with Jack Soble. He's there for quick hits. But you and I are going to talk about the biggest day in your world as a Mizzou recruiting writer. Or at least maybe the busiest, depending on the year. National Signing Day was on Wednesday, so Mizzou finalized its class for the class of 2026. Kenny, I'll read the numbers. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of them. Mizzou, they finished number 28th nationally, number 11th in the SEC, 19 new members in the class of 2026. What I read from you, Kenny, 15 of those guys joining here in the winter in the early signing period, and then 4 more are going to come in the summertime. I actually wrote those down. I believe Keenan Harris, Davian Hill Lomax, Ahmad Billings, Bryson Wessel are all the late signings. I won't read all the 3 stars. They had 14 of them, but 4 stars: Johnny Jones Jr., Taj Overton, Jaden McGregory, JJ Bush, Jackson Gates, Bush, McGregory, defensive backs, as well as Jones. Overton's a defensive lineman. Jones is an offensive tackle. Jones is an offensive lineman. I wrote corner on my notes. That's a hand up. I knew
there's Brody Jones, who's a safety.
Yep. See, I knew I'd screw something up in copying all those names down. But Kenny, I have some questions for you, obviously, about some specifics with this class. But just walk me through the day. Didn't feel like a super dramatic signing day for Mizzou. I don't know off the top of my head if they were holding out for any guys. You obviously see that with a day like today, but it felt like all the guys that they had committed already, kind of smooth sailing, ended up signing with the Tigers. But walk me through your schedule and how the day went for you and for Mizzou to lock up this class of 2026.
It's actually my 4th straight signing day, and I really never thought I would be doing this, or even doing this much longer, especially after my LSU days with Rivals, helping out that site. And I remember I woke up late because I didn't really know what time to wake up. I'm going to turn my phone off right now too.
Yeah, well, it starts, I covered this last year, and yeah, you get surprised at how, it starts at like 6 a.m. Some of the schools start tweeting and making it official. So it can be a long day.
Yeah, because you have to take in the fact that there's Eastern time for some of these high schoolers, and so they're getting up, they're doing it before they go to school. And a lot of times, you're sending in your signature ahead of time. That's some kids maybe stay up until midnight and just electronically send it in, and that's how it works. And then you process it throughout the morning and make sure all those guys are good to go. And I think a good example of it is that Carter Stewart's signature came in. He was the last guy that Mizzou officially announced his signing. I went to his signing day too, which I thought was really cool. There's a bunch of just signees for other schools. Illinois, Texas A&M, Utah were all represented there. His brother was going to Texas, twin brother, is a wide receiver going to Texas, and he's a safety going to Mizzou. And it's Mizzou kind of just waited because they let him have his announcement. He said he was going to announce at 4:30. It was a little bit later than that. I think it was around 4:45. But Mizzou got its tweet out, and then he had his little ceremony with his family, his friends, and everyone there. So I always find that stuff cool. But kind of comparing it to the last couple of years, though, Jack, I think this is my 3rd one I've done in my own house. I don't live in Houston anymore, but I am back for Thanksgiving, and I just stayed an extra week, and I'm here. And I was talking to my mom about it. I was like, I'm surprised. I've been doing this for 4 years now in different capacities. Of course, the LSU side wasn't really I was involved, but I probably wasn't as deep into recruiting as I am with the Mizzou side the last 2 years. And last year there was only 17 commits. I took it upon myself to write a feature story on 16 of those guys and post those throughout the day. So that made the day a little bit more hectic. Being around for an entire signing class in 2026, I got to do those feature stories, here and there. There was a couple of guys that I wanted to do an extra one on, stories that I had been sitting on, and I did those, but I wasn't going to do 21 because there was 21 guys coming into the week. Two of those guys that you lose, TJ Hodges, a little bit of surprise, flipping to Arkansas. Ryan Silverfield came in and made it a point of emphasis to keep some of those top guys in the state. If that's from, better NIL packages, opportunities, we don't know. We don't know like what exactly went into that. But TJ Hodges did mention on TV when he was talking about it that Coach Silverfield has known him for a long time and been recruiting him for a long time. So that played a part. Micah Nickerson, that was trending away from Missouri for a while. Mizzou got him back on campus last week. He went back down to Mississippi State, right in his home state, the Magnolia State, to watch the Egg Bowl against Ole Miss, and everything just kept trending backwards to Mississippi State. I don't think a lot of people were expecting it. I even had sources asking me like where I thought it was going to go, and I was like, man, I really think it's going to be Mississippi State, and it was. Micah's a good kid. He has a good family. His family in Missouri, family in Mississippi, but he's from a smaller town, and it's like there's a lot of pluses and advantages of going to a place that's a little bit like yours. We kind of mock it sometimes of being like home, but Mississippi State was his dream school. That's what his mom told me. He's like they loved it, but they were going to keep it open. He's a kid who was a late riser. They loved every opportunity to see other schools. It doesn't sound like they got many opportunities to travel before that. And so going on to these official visits and getting to see places was awesome for them. And, it's just a kid who wanted to stay home. So I think people will be upset because he's a 4-star edge. He's in the top 100 by Rivals. I understand that, but as a guy, maybe down the line, if it doesn't work out at Mississippi State, there's that connection there with Brian Early, with Maury Bland on the recruiting side.
Yeah. I think, it's a good note too, because obviously it's a bummer on the day when they're not a part of the signing class and it doesn't add to the numbers, but they're important names to keep in mind for if they do come up later. And that's something I'm going to ask you from a Mizzou standpoint, because I know your colleague Kyle wrote a couple of transfer portal need stories coming out of signing day. But on the guys who did sign, Kenny, particularly among the 4 stars, it can be a little tougher to discern sometimes when there's not a Luther Burden or, even a Matt Zollers from last cycle and not a 4 or 5-star QB. But there's some good players in this group of 5 guys. They're coming in as freshmen. I don't think the expectations are for any of them to be home run hitters from day one, and the way say an Alubade has been this year. But who maybe if anyone is kind of the standout for you or for among the recruiting circles that Mizzou got that people are saying this is a guy who either projects long term as a really talented option or could impact even right away.
We'll start at the top with Johnny Jones. You mentioned the 4-star offensive tackle, highest rated guy, only Rivals 300 guy in this class for Missouri. This is the first time, I think, since 2023 they didn't have a guy inside the top 100. So you look at that class and you look at where the offensive tackle position is going forward. He's the only offensive tackle in this class. The other 4 offensive linemen are interior options for the future. But with Johnny is like, he's very, he's massive. I mean, he's 6'6", 308 pounds. That's what Rivals has him as. He could be a little bit bigger now. It's very, fluid on.
Yeah. I got to throw out imagine walking out of math class and you're an edge rusher for, East High, and you got to go up against that kid. Jesus.
Yeah, and so he transferred to Venice, Florida, high school for his senior year. That's where Damon Wilson went. He has a good relationship with Donovan Alubade. But talking about guys that could probably be an impact, I think Johnny Jones could be on the depth chart in his freshman year. We'll see how he kind of favors in the sense of will he get on the field? We still need to see what the transfer portal class looks like. We need to see if Caden Green comes back. So at the offensive tackle spot, we'll just kind of wait and see for a guy like Johnny Jones. But getting on campus early, another plus for him.
Yeah.
But I think
should we bring the 3rd member of our team in here?
Yes, I think he wants to come in.
We're bringing Payton in. He was going to join for quick hits, and he's here early, so we'll reward him. Welcome, Payton.
Yeah, Kenny, I got a question about Tony Forney, if you haven't talked about that already.
We haven't.
No.
Yeah.
What the hell is that about?
I think it surprised Missouri a little bit too. For those who don't know, Tony Forney committed to Mizzou on July 4th. Thank you for that. Kell safety, very versatile guy. I had actually a feature story written about how he was becoming the special teams weapon, and they called him Touchdown Tony. And teams were starting to kick the ball away from him because no one really wanted him to get the ball in his hands, and was having a great senior year. Out of nowhere, signed with Pitt. Mizzou had 4 safeties coming into the day, committed to the program, and Forney signed there. It was a little bit of surprise. I was talking to someone on the phone too, just sort of in the program, just on signing day, and they were saying like, I mean, did you hear anything about this? And I was like, well, he didn't answer my text the other day, so I thought that maybe it was a red flag, but also just thought busy, Thanksgiving, and so just seemed like it was just quietly trending back to the Panthers, which was one of his final teams, along with Wisconsin and Georgia were also in the mix at certain points. So. That was another loss. We already talked about TJ Hodges and Micah Nickerson, but thank you for.
I kind of figured those two, but I mean, Tony Forney was kind of the big shocker. We normally have grown accustomed to seeing Drink kind of doing those kind of flips. I mean, Sam Williams, I remember, was just out of nowhere. Then he's still it with the program, but that the Forney one came as quite a bit of a surprise.
And you were a good reminder for this one too, Peyton. You texted me about it. And with Seifa Saki, who's an edge that was committed to Wake Forest, and Missouri was trying to get in late there. He's a little bit newer to football. He started playing 4 months ago. He was a basketball player. He moved to the United States from Ghana. He lived in Kentucky for 3 years and was playing national prep basketball. Then moved to Cincinnati. Mizzou got in there really late just with an offer, but had been in contact through November and talked to his coach in September. So there was a relationship there. It just didn't go in Missouri's favor at the end of the day. There was discussions. It looked like, he would be interested in it, but he ended up signing with Wake Forest. And that could have been back-to-back, though. Different staff over there, maybe different staff over there, though, different position on the defensive line. But I thought that was interesting, too.
Yeah. That obviously, Forney, that's a tough miss to throw in there. But, something to keep in mind.
Yeah, but we can talk about maybe some other guys that could be, on the depth chart or play snaps early. And I think one of them is Jaden McGregory. I think he's a very sharp and just well-tooled safety that had a pretty good senior season. Probably wants to be a little bit higher in the rankings than he is, but 4-star by 2 outlets and Rivals and ESPN, and his industry ranking is a 4-star. And maybe there is a spot there for him to play in that secondary. Of course, you probably think too, and Drinkwitz even mentioned it in his press conference, that they're going to go after defensive backs more on the corner side as well. But I think they'll be fine at safety. I think, losing Tony probably sucks internally, but I think, bigger scheme of things, I think they did fine at the safety position as well, especially flipping Brody Jones and Carter Stewart as well.
It didn't feel like a super explosive class, but that was one thing I did like, even just looking through the names, is how many defensive backs they took. I mean, that's a position that we've talked about it this year. It's been, more of a pleasant surprise, but that's a position that since the Cad Ennis years, they've struggled to find real consistent talent, especially, homegrown since then. So
they've tried to fill it with Toriano pride and the power of friendship, essentially.
Right. Yeah. So I think taking a bunch of swings on some guys that, you hope at least one or a couple of them, end up working out, even if it's not immediately, can be good projects. So I think that's a good point on the depth. I'll ask Payton then. Payton, do you have a favorite recruit from this class? Kenny kind of touched on a couple. Do you have a favorite? I know you follow it pretty close.
I mean, Johnny Jones is like the highest ranked one, so that's a good answer. Plus, always, I think, getting good offensive tackles. Mizzou has kind of struggled a bit with that. Lamont Rogers, I think, was supposed to be kind of that guy for them. That didn't break their way. So they've really kind of been hunting for that big offensive tackle, like elite recruit. So maybe Johnny Jones can be that. I mean, because Armand Membu, if people forget, was not like a huge deal recruit. I think he was a borderline 3-4 star on most sites, and a lot of people thought he'd be a guard eventually. But Armand Membu was just simply not 1 in a million, but like one of those like just good dudes that developed like just a straight up dude.
Diamond in the rough.
Yeah, diamond in the rough.
Buzzwords.
It's kind of hard to bet to pick someone else other than that. I shout out Jabari Brady. It feels
I was gonna say he's my favorite.
Plus, who doesn't
highlights
love a
were
good
fun.
wide receiver recruit?
Yeah. Yeah, I've liked the clips I've seen of him. And then I think the pod's favorite recruit, when I was thinking back, because obviously, having Kenny on as an asset, because we can give a little bit of a deep dive on each of these guys when they commit. We're big Maxwell Werner fans. I like the Whitney Young connection, the fact he was playing defense. I think Kenny, I think you said you texted him about that we had said we enjoyed his defensive tape.
He's
someone who could be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, and doing it on with his mom working for the TV station and doing it on the local station, that was great. So I have hopes for him. And coming to a running back room that has not been short on guys who have turned into just brilliant running backs, at least at the college level. So maybe can continue a little bit of a factory. I do, Kenny, you feel free to add anything else, but I do want to ask your take on the QB of this class, Mr. Gavin Sidwar, whatever you want to add about him, because obviously he'll be a headline grabber with given the fact that he is a quarterback, and we can talk about the other QB that Mizzou got as well.
Yeah, we have to just mention this real quick, and we'll talk about him in a second. We have to talk about DeMarcus Johnson as well. I thought that was going to be Payton's favorite. He's the JUCO edge rusher. We'll get to him in a second. But quarterback, I didn't want someone to be listening to this and that was actually paying attention to a lot of this and ask, like, hey, why aren't they talking about the 6'8", 620 or 268 pounder? It's not 600.
620.
260 pounder that's going to be on the edge next year. With Gavin, I think it's interesting too that he did feel a little bit disrespected at times, probably by his ranking. He dropped a little bit, kind of got out of the national spotlight once he committed to Mizzou, and he was in the Rivals 250 before the merger with On3. He was a 4-star. He was highly regarded by Rivals, but finishes out as a 3-star. There'll be another ranking after the All-Star games, but right now it doesn't look like he's going to be in any of those. But with Gavin, it's a little bit different than Zollers. They had the same quarterbacks coach in high school. Of course, the one with is Tim Taggart, but in the sense of that it was an outside coach for Matt Zollers, and it's a high school coach for Gavin Sidwar. And so there's a little familiarity there. They're a little bit different style of quarterbacks. So, I mean, Gavin Sidwar is a much more of a pocket presence guy, and talked about footwork with him, because one big thing that always just popped up about Matt Zollers is that he could run the ball. Like, he could get on the move. And he said, Tim talked about Gavin's footwork. It was almost like Tom Brady. And Tom Brady was a very mobile quarterback in the sense that he could move up in the pocket. He knew when to take his steps. And that seemed like something that Gavin had improved on in his junior year and his senior year, is that he knew how to step up in the pocket. He knew how to manage that as well, and not have to just run out and throw the ball sometimes if the offensive line collapsed or if the pocket wasn't there. So I thought that was a good plus. They like his arm strength a lot. He's a lot of moxie and kind of swagger to him, but still in the sense that he doesn't really talk as much, I guess, on the field. He's a leader, though, of course, a captain for that LaSalle team that's playing for a state title on Saturday. So there's a lot to like about him. Familiarity too. He knows Bo Pribula. His family knows Bo Pribula. He has that relationship with Matt. He knows Kirby Moore. Sean Gleason played a big part, the quarterback's coach, in recruiting him. So it's just, another domino in the Pennsylvania quarterback world, which could end in the 2027 class.
Yeah. On that note, I mean, now that Payton's here, because I know he was excited as is, every Mizzou fan about getting a QB commit. What can you tell us about Mr. Braylon Warren? Not from Pennsylvania, so they broke the trend a little bit for that out of Omaha, Nebraska, but top QB in the 2027 class coming to Mizzou. That obviously is a huge get early for them in that class.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. Maybe just the time of when he announced it. He was expecting to make an announcement this week and choose Mizzou. A lot of familiarity with Missouri as well. Daniel Kalen, he knows well. He worked out with him a lot. Former Missouri commit in the 2024 class before he flipped to Nebraska, and then ended up transferring. He's at Virginia now, which was a good team this year. He's one of the backup options. But, they know each other well. His dad, Steve Warren, is from Springfield. He went to Kickapoo, but in the 90s, I mean, could you turn down Nebraska in the late 90s? After a lot of those national championship runs, he went to play defensive line there, went to the NFL as well. They've been back to Missouri a handful of times. This wasn't just like a fast thing that just happened. It looked like at one point he was even considering committing to Missouri during the 2025 season. He came for 2 games. He saw the Kansas game and the Mississippi State game. I heard, some buzz that I hate saying that word, but I heard some buzz that he was thinking about it. He was pretty close to it. They just needed some time. The quarterbacks like to get it out of the way early. They talk about the quarterback dominoes a lot. There's only one spot usually with teams. Missouri, of course, was looking at a second quarterback at one point because they were really short on quarterbacks kind of going in the future. But a lot of times it's only one guy. And so, he's going to get it out of the way early. Very familiar with Missouri. His grandparents still live in Springfield, comes back to see them. Does a camp too. I thought this was cool in Southwest Missouri with his dad. Just kind of giving back to the community and, playing with some kids that just, need an opportunity to just get out there and just play. And so a lot of connections there. And I think this was just, a good start. The last 3 cycles, the quarterback has been the longest tenured commit for Missouri as well.
Yeah, that's a good trend for sure. Payton, any Warren reaction from you, and then final thoughts from you on the 26 group, if you have any.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I really didn't know Braylon Warren's name until a week ago when Kenny started kind of linking him. So I don't really have any solid thoughts. I've not watched any of them, but we've talked a ton about Mizzou trying to get the QB a cycle, locking that in early. Kenny mentioned, I mean, they very rarely have these guys get flipped when they lock them in. Coleman is really the only one I can think of. I don't think any others. Kenny, is there any chance they'd take another QB in 2027, or do you have
it's
any?
too hard to tell, is Sidwar, is Zollers, are they both going to be there, this time next year? You just don't know. Who else are they going to bring in through the transfer portal, JUCO ranks, because they're going to need depth at certain points. But I think that'll be something we'll know a little bit more in the future.
There you go. Nope. Go ahead, Payton.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the 2026 class, kind of a dud ending with 2 guys flipping. That always stinks, but 3 guys flipping rather. And then not getting Danny Beal, based off what I had heard about Anthony Kennedy. I really didn't care about that one anymore. But I mean, still, it grades out as a top 30 class, if I'm not mistaken, right, Kenny?
Yeah, 28.
Yeah, that's not the end of the world, especially if they hit the portal hard. Drink's got a new extension. I'm sure that came with a lot of NIL boosts, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some portal stuff as well in quick hits. But a good haul for Mizzou in the class of 2026. Kenny, are you relieved to have turned the calendar page?
Yeah, they just wish Braylon Warren would have maybe waited one more day. I think that would have been nice, but congrats to him to finally make that decision. I have 3 just quick hitters. DeMarcus Johnson, the JUCO edge from Fort Bend Marshall, Missouri City, Texas. I was actually nearby to where that school was yesterday at Carter Stewart's signing ceremony. But he's from the JUCO ranks. He went to Hutchinson, a lot of connections there in the past. Al Davis, former Missouri defensive line coach, used to coach there. And they have not been afraid to go back. He has a good relationship with Brian Early. Brian Early recruited him to Houston in the 2024 class before DeMarcus took the JUCO route. He ended up redshirting as well, but they're playing for a national title this weekend as well in the JUCO level. But I think that's a good one. Coming in at 6'8", 260 pounds. I remember talking with Isaac Jensen. Isaac Jensen, tight end signee for Missouri.
I hadn't mentioned him yet.
He's friends with Braylon Warren. I got a good quote from him. They worked out together at Steve Warren's academy too. Whenever the quarterbacks need someone to catch, they usually call up Isaac too. And they play against each other, of course, in high school. So yeah, the DeMarcus one's a big one. Could it be an instant impact? We'll see how that kind of shakes out with whoever they get in the transfer portal. I feel like edge will still be a position of need, especially when you're expected to probably lose Damon Wilson and Zion Young to the NFL draft. Some other guys, Jackson Gates, really speedy, late riser. He's a 339th nationally, 4-star. That's the Rivals industry ranking.
No relation.
Good cornerback. Yeah, no relation. Yeah, I think he would have told me if there was. But yeah, he was once committed to BYU and Syracuse, so he's not afraid to leave home. He's the first California high school signee under Drinkwitz as well.
Oh, wow. That's actually that's kind of wild, actually.
They've done it before. The JUCO ranks. They've got a punter and a defensive lineman from California, and I'm sure that there's been guys from California and then portal as well. But high school, it's the first one. Last thing I'll just point out, Khalif Canty. I think he is one of the more unheralded guys in this class. He was also a Rivals 250 player at one point before the merger. I think he's going to be like a sneaky freak. Like, you talk about those, like the freaks of like Armand Membu like that. And I know that saying probably wasn't the best way to say it, but I'm saying, like, sneakily, I think he'll be like one of those like future freaks, future really athletic offensive linemen that Mizzou will have. So I think, keep your eyes on Cliff Canty in the next couple of years.
There you go. Some predictions from Kenny. All right. Well, now you can rest easy for a little bit before the calendar turns to the 2027 class for you, now that the 2026 guys are locked up. So yeah, 19 signings for Mizzou in the class of 2026. We will continue the show. We're going to talk some hoop with our good friend Jack Soble. Stay tuned.
And now for something completely different.
We already are going to welcome a very, very special guest, a good friend of the program. We are bookending the long-awaited post-game recap after we previewed the Mizzou Notre Dame game. And if you don't see that preview on our YouTube channel, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, start scrolling, because we did the wayest of way too early previews for this game with our good friend Jack Soble over at Blue and Gold Illustrated. Jack, and we have Jack and Kenny now. Payton, are you worried now we have 2 on 3 employees on this podcast? 50% of this portion of the show is made up of that company. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, Kenny's even repping the brand. How about that?
Of course he is.
I don't mind on 3. I like the Brett McMurphy bowl projections, except when they don't have matchups I like for Mizzou.
That has become a weekly staple of quick hits until the bowl games actually come out. Soble, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. I guess we'll just rip right into this recap here. Mizzou Notre Dame was a good game. The rematch in the SEC ACC Challenge. Mizzou this time fails to represent the SEC with a win, losing to Notre Dame. Oh wait, no, it's not a rematch.
I was gonna say, what do you mean it's
last year? Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, I'm totally wrong. Sorry, I don't know why I put this game as happening last year. Just manifested it. Regardless, Mizzou fails the SEC. They lose 76-71 to Notre Dame. And obviously, Soble, you cover this team. You've followed them all season over there at On 3. And I want to get your kind of read on this just to open it up. And you, of course, know Mizzou as well. I've watched them, I'm sure when you can. When you think back on this game and recap on it, do you pin this more as a good win for Notre Dame or kind of a loss for, I'm doing the Russell Westbrook thing, I realized. Did Notre Dame win this game or did Mizzou lose it? What's kind of your read on that? Because I think this is a Notre Dame team that people look at on paper, and they see the past few seasons, some of the struggles, they see the 5-3 record, maybe don't know the fact that they played 2 really good teams pretty close in Vegas, seem like they have some more horses this year. What's your stance kind of on that with how Mizzou fared versus Notre Dame and them winning this game?
And the third loss is Ohio State on the road, which is obviously nothing to be ashamed of either. It's a tournament team. But I kind of go back and forth. Like it is a huge win for Notre Dame. They really needed this because, like, you look at their resume before this game. They are 0-3 in quad 1, 5-0 in quads 3 and 4. They haven't played like the in between game, the quad 2 game, where like you're not expected to lose it, but it also doesn't look great. You're not really. It's not a gimme, but it also doesn't look great if you lose it. So they needed this game. They got it. I think they did a really nice job making plays. I mean, this is what this came down to. Notre Dame made more plays than Missouri at the end. There were definitely times where Missouri could have put Notre Dame away and didn't. I think back to the sequence at the end of the first half, 12-point game. Notre Dame's unraveling a little bit. Micah Shrewsbury's teed up. Then Shrewsbury hits a 3 to get to 9. Then Burton picks Ant Robinson's pocket and gets a bucket. And then all of a sudden Notre Dame has some momentum headed into that second half. So, but also credit to Notre Dame because this is not a team the past 2 years that would have survived like runs of 7, 11 points from Mizzou. So it's a real progress. It's probably the best win of the Shrewsbury era so far. Given like 2 years ago they beat Clemson and Wake Forest down the stretch, and those returnment teams. Clemson went to the Elite Eight, but Notre Dame's season was over by this point. This is the first time Notre Dame has really had a chance to accomplish something in a season and come away with a really key win. So it's big for them in a lot of ways. It doesn't kill Mizzou, but they would have liked to close it out given that they had their chances.
Yeah, Payton, I was going to ask you and Kenny this about that end of half, because you hear Dennis all the time, the middle eight, win the middle eight. That's been such a point of emphasis for him. They didn't do that, and it showed. I'm curious your guys' take on that part of on that sequence of the game, and then also just thought that pops in my head. You know, Notre Dame to me, when I watched the condensed version of this game back, looked like a team that had competed against some good programs and learned from those games. Missouri comes in there cold at 8-0, but having not, their best opponent being a technically quad 3 team in Minnesota, maybe some of that strikes again. But what were your thoughts on that middle 8 sequence in particular?
Well, I mean, we've seen it in the ACC SEC challenge before. I think back to the Cal game last year, right before the border war, just like same situation basically. Missouri's getting played out of its own gym by Cal, but right at the end of the half, they drop this really sick set play that gets Mark Mitchell a dunk, gives them a little life going into half, and they stormed out of the break. And I mean, they led that game by like the under 10. And that was it got flipped on its head in this one, like Soble mentioned. I mean, that Ant turnover, you live with Shrewsbury. I mean, that was a nice play, good shot to get the 3. That Ant turnover in that situation was one of the most just drop-dead stupid plays I've ever seen from a player they can't afford it happening to. I mean, Ant had been real quiet coming into this game. I wasn't really all that concerned, but that was another not good performance for him last night, I thought. And that was the play that flipped the game on its head. I think at one point the run got up to 22-6 or something for Notre Dame. And I mean, the thing about it was, Missouri still they had a sequence where they didn't score for almost 5 minutes, and still, just one brief flurry took the lead right back in the second half. That kind of shows how well they played for about 19 and a half minutes in the first half. But there were so many opportunities for them to pull away. Like when they took the lead again in the second half for the first time, then they have Jacob Cruz get a technical that lets them back into it. The one that really stands out to me, Mark Mitchell hits a 3-pointer followed by a T.O. Barrett basket. That sequence will never happen again. And they immediately give up a 3-pointer on the other end. Like, it's 3-pointers all the time. That really, it was a good defensive effort for most of that game. But my God, that kid, Cole Serta for Notre Dame, just shot them out of the gym towards the end. He was the only player doing anything down the stretch. And Missouri just didn't do anything about it.
At the end of the day, it's a lot about the execution. And Peyton, I think you texted about it, maybe some other people in our basketball group chat. All 4 of us are actually. And I think you said you're pulling out hairs. I mean, there were certain plays where that just happens. And when you have your point guard, who's, supposed to be this NBA talent, has 5 turnovers and 5 personal fouls, I understand, the frustrations there. And it's kind of sparked the question for me. And I think this was probably one of the better games to actually ask it. And I mean, it probably from Soble's perspective as well, getting to see it in person and maybe get a little bit more of a feel for the bench and all the assistants there as well, and just how it was kind of going out. But do you guys feel like it was more of an execution issue with just the players, or do you think Dennis Gates got out coached?
I think it was probably more execution. And I think Knowlton, you made a good point when you talk about that Notre Dame had been tested and Mizzou hadn't, because Notre Dame's previous game was against Houston in Vegas, and they were down by 22. They come back, cut it to 4. When it's a 4-point game, they give up a loose ball offensive rebound where Emmanuel Sharp outdives their guards and out hustles their guards and gets the ball, and he gets it to another player who gets a bucket. And that's something that really stuck with Shrewsbury, because he brought that to the team and is like, look, this is the effort and intensity and details and compete level that you need to have for 40 minutes to win these type of games. And I think they really took that to heart against Mizzou. Like you saw how I don't know if it was as easy to tell on TV, but like how hard Burton played for that game and how intense
You
Notre
could
Dame
tell.
stayed.
I could
Yeah.
tell watching it back.
Burton in particular, but the team as a whole, I really play. This was the first time I've seen them play with that kind of compete level and details and focus for 40 minutes. And I think that really comes with Notre Dame being tested as much as they were before this game, and Mizzou had not.
Yeah, I first of all, that's why Houston's winning the national championship, because they have players who do that every single night.
They're good, man.
There's a take for you. I think I agree, Kenny, to go back to your question too. Like, I think, I will be eternally frustrated. I've already started texting Payton some screenshots and clips, and I know he wants to talk about one of them, about the defense for Mizzou and the just continued, want to play zone with this team, even though I really don't think it works. And so, I think Notre Dame's got some darn good players. I think particularly, especially against the zone, they did a good job beating it. But I feel like we see time and time again with Mizzou teams, whether it's Notre Dame or whether it's one of the low majors, they have stretches where they figure out Mizzou's zone. And I don't think Dennis goes away from it, quick enough. And there's some decision-making there, but I still think overall it was the execution. I mean, the easy thing you can point to is the clip at the end of the game where they kind of fail to execute on both ends of the court, where you have Jacob Cruz running to blitz Payton, and then Sean Phillips is late on the closeout, and then Mizzou with a chance to still respond. Jacob Cruz chucks a deep through with 15 seconds left in the game, and so it's just both sides of the ball. It's those small things that is going to keep Mizzou from getting back to where they want to be in the SEC. And it's what's going to have teams like Notre Dame propel above them, who are doing that better and executing better. I don't know if either, that can be taken wherever it wants. Payton, I know you had some defense thoughts, but.
Well, like I said, I thought it was Missouri for most of that game played how they wanted to play. They forced Notre Dame into some rather bad 3-point attempts in the first half. I thought, like, pretty deep ones. Like, if they make a couple of those, you live with it. But they actually shot pretty poorly in the first half from deep after a couple early ones. They were getting a lot of steals, and I thought Ant played pretty bad, but he was getting steals. I thought a lot of that, though, was just Notre Dame being pretty careless at certain points. And again, Ant stole the ball 5 times and he turned it over 5 times. That's not good enough. But just at the end there, I get it, man. Like, that's how Dennis Gates wants to play. He wants to try and force a turnover at the end there. Yes, I've seen it everywhere. Burton probably walked at the end there. No way in hell is that getting called, nor should
it. No, I would agree with that.
That's never going to get called, shouldn't get called. And you sag off the one guy that is just scorching hot. Serta had made the previous 2, if I'm not mistaken. I thought it was Serta for those last few.
Yeah, it was Serta. He made 3 in the final 4:35.
Yeah, that's insanity. I don't like the idea of having someone sag off of him, switch on to try and trap Burton, and have a 7-footer have to try and lumber all the way from the paint to the top of the key for a closeout. It's just, to me, that was doing too much. Well, just standing guard. If they beat you inside, so be it. Notre Dame, they didn't start running that play till there was about 8 seconds left. So I get kind of like trying to force Burton into a bad decision, but Burton had played great all game, not taking anything away from him, but he had kind of slowed down until that part of the game. So if he beats Ant 1-on-1, so be it. I would have just let Ant try and guard him. Just make sure Serta isn't left completely open or risk a late closeout on the wing.
So I'll add some context behind both why I think Dennis had a good plan for this game and why it didn't work at the end. The plan was basically, and I asked him about this to confirm, it was basically get the ball out of Burton's hands by any means necessary, because Burton before tonight has had last night has had some issues with like he can often get caught like just putting his head down and trying to get his by any means necessary. He's a good scorer, but he's also, he's listed at 6 foot. He's not 6 foot.
Yeah.
But and he can struggle with long guards like Robinson or good rim protectors like Phillips. So they had a good plan for him, but he responded really well in finding his teammates, and his teammates were hitting shots. And then Serta, he's a shooter that hasn't been shooting very well the past couple weeks. It is I can't overstate, excuse me, how big it is for Notre Dame if he's shooting like he was last night consistently, because right now their only consistent shooter is Brendon. And if and Serta is a year younger, he didn't play as much as a freshman. If he can get to that point, that makes him a lot more dangerous offensively. But then you're at the end of the game. Burton's done a really good job finding his teammates. Serta's hit those shots. Like if you didn't watch the rest of the game, I think trapping and then helping off of Serta would be a good plan. But the way Notre Dame, both Burton and Serta, had been playing to that point, like it's tough for me to agree with that decision.
Yeah, I that like you nailed it so well. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like if he struggles with longer guards, you've got Mark Mitchell in the paint, who is a fine enough help defender, and Sean Phillips, like, I don't like wholly want to blame a 7-footer for being too deep in a zone situation where he's, because you compare him to where, like, and we're nitpicking one play, but you compare him to where like Teo Barrett was on the court, and Teo Barrett's cheated up a little bit. He's in the passing lane, but in a much better position to close out a shot if that ball would have gone to Shrewsbury. And Phillips wasn't, and then he was too slow getting out, and that's what happens. But yeah, I think there was a lack of mid-game adjustment to how the trends of that game were going. Kenny, you've unmuted yourself like 3 times. I feel bad. I cut you off.
It just kind of takes me back to like the issues like we came into the year. I mean, we talked about rebounding. We talked about, these defensive lapses. Will they possibly lose you games? I think that they pointed out, there's different guys on staffs that have different jobs. And it seems like, the defense just wasn't improved there down the stretch. I was trying to go back and look at, some other games this year where Mizzou had a win in reach. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that Illinois game last year where, Mizzou was just kind of shooting itself in the foot multiple times and had opportunities to win it. But I was also thinking about from the perspective of, the outlook of this season. And I saw like some other people, like our friend Gabe posted it. It's like, can your favorite sports team lose a game without someone getting fired? And that was something I was thinking about too. I think Mizzou is playing a lot better than, the 3 of us expected. I don't know about you, Soble. I don't know what your expectations were coming into the year for this Mizzou basketball team. We thought nationally people were a lot higher on this Mizzou team coming into the year. I still think this probably was a game that Mizzou should have won. But I think, Mizzou's probably still trending in a better direction than we probably expected, Jack and Payton.
Yeah, I think the more worrying thing is how much of a game this looked like they needed to win to be where, you want Mizzou to be, even if it's not where we expected this team to be. Because if you look ahead, it's interesting. You can compare results now. Notre Dame, they lost to Kansas by 10. I don't think Mizzou's losing to Kansas by 10 points. I'm just going to put that hot take out there now. They're going to have Darren Peterson back. Illinois is going to be really, really tough. And then you rip right into conference play. That is a hard life to try and build a resume around when if you chalk those 2 up to losses, all of a sudden, you get in the quad 1 discussions and all of those wins are essentially going to have to come from the SEC. I agree with you, Kenny. I myself talk myself into every Mizzou team every year. I did it in 2023 when they went 0-19, but I agree. I think overall it's been a little better. Maybe they can turn it around, but I think given the strength of these next 2 opponents in the quad 1 sphere, I think it's going to be, we might look back at this game as one Mizzou maybe needed to have.
And bracketology came out. ESPN's on today. Yeah, we're recording this on Wednesday. Still an 8 seed. I mean, analytically wise, they're still a little bit high on them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For what it's worth, Lenardi put out like one of his like little screenshot graphics, and he had this evening, and he had Mizzou as one of the last 4 buys.
Yeah, I think he also had Duke twice, right? I saw that.
Oh,
was
really? I did not see that.
There's one. I think he had Duke as a 1 and a 2 seed.
I mean, if they make it, it's going to be solely off the back of a really good conference play. Because, I mean,
Mhm.
Minnesota, I know as we're recording this, they're actually beating Indiana. But, I mean, that win does nothing for you. I don't think they're going to beat Kansas this year. I think they're more likely going to get smoked by Illinois than beat Illinois. So that's a grand total of 0 good wins in non-con. I thought Notre Dame kind of had to be non-negotiable. Notre Dame's a much better team this year than they were last year. That's probably a quad 2 game that would have been under their belt at worst by the end of the year. I don't see Notre Dame really having the bottom fall out of them. I mean, with
I don't know.
Burton's a great player. Harrelson is really good.
I was gonna say that.
God,
yeah.
thank
Jalen
goodness
Harrelson's
he
fun.
fouled out earlier
Yeah.
because he was a menace.
I kept saying like early in the second half, like they have to get Harrelson off of Mitchell. They have to get Harrelson off of Mitchell because Harrelson couldn't commit fouls, and like Mitchell was playing well enough to the point where the only way to defend him was fouling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean I don't know where Notre Dame would be if he was at Indiana right now, man. He is exactly what they need. He's kind of like Mitchell in that like he's a non-shooter, but he's just so good at getting to the basket and getting his buckets. It doesn't matter.
Didn't Mizzou recruit him?
Yep. They were after him.
Briefly, but from everything I was told, he was always likely to stay in Indiana.
Mm.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. That was a way too early player. We nailed that on the preview. I know we did that right. We definitely talked about him.
Yeah.
I brought up Harrelson. I know.
Good
'cause
for us.
He was a big deal in high
Where
school. But
is did Notre Dame sneak into the bracketology, Soble? Are they still on the outside?
Not that I have seen, but they do have an opportunity. They have another good opportunity. Tough but winnable game on the road. TCU on Friday.
Yeah,
And-
if New Orleans can do it, Notre Dame can do it.
TCU's a weird team, man. They're a weird team. They're gonna have end up having kind of a crazy season with some of these. I always like we do this in like college football too, like with Bama, Florida State, where I like looking back at you're like, how did this loss or win happen? And I think the TCU New Orleans might end up being one of those. That TCU team's weird.
Oh, they beat Wisconsin too. Well, Wisconsin's not good this year.
That's when I saw that's how I can validate their weirdness because they shot like crazy from 3, but we're also letting Wisconsin back in that game. It was weird. It was weird. Well, so we've done this for all of Mizzou's wins. I've given out some superlatives, including a just one game ball, who gets it. But since Mizzou lost, I'm going to let you dish it out to one of your Notre Dame guys. I usually give nominees, but I will just let you pick because you are the expert.
Man, it's
what? Oh, you want me to give
Soble's Notre Dame guys?
Sorry. The guys
He's a part of the team?
The guys from
the
Soble,
guy
the guys
Soble
from
covers,
Notre Dame that
yeah.
Soble covers. Sorry.
I know it's basic because he's arguably their best player now that Harrelson's here. Harrelson's been that good, but Burton, he went 6 for 15, which is tough, but like this was as well as I've seen him play in college, and he's had a lot of good games in college. The way he found his open teammates, scored when necessary, hit a couple threes, which again they really need someone not named Braden Shrewsbury to step up and hit threes. And just like I said before, the effort and compete level he played with, I think when you get that from your best player and your leader, like that is a big reason that they were able to pull this out, because like they played with that effort and compete level for 40 minutes, and that's not something you see a whole lot from this Notre Dame team.
Yeah, I think that's an adequate game ball. Nice job. So that's our first guest. That's our first guest game ball. We'll have to figure out a way to do that for the other games going forward.
You're the first guest to ever be asked that.
You are the first guest ever.
And then, on the Mizzou side, like Mark Mitchell played really well. And I know, again, he's the leading scorer, but like when he got downhill and was able to drive to the basket, he's not very stoppable.
It's about the only play they were running for a while.
When it works, the best option for Notre Dame to guard him is probably Harrelson, but they couldn't do that anymore because he kept fouling him. Yeah,
I don't mind from time to time being a just feed the rock to one guy team. That can sometimes be fun. It's, and It's a tough loss. I agree with Payton from a long-term standpoint. It really felt like a game Mizzou really needed to have. It's a bummer they lost it. I don't want to take too much away from Notre Dame. I think they are much better than they have been in the past. Soble kind of articulated that. So we'll see. We'll see if they stick around. Maybe it'll at least be a quality loss for Mizzou. It can be, if they're not going to get a quad one until January or February, then maybe they can at least have an okay loss to boost their resume, however that does it. Soble, before we let you go, since the team we do a podcast for is nowhere near the college football playoff, we're going to worm college football playoff into this. Is Notre Dame getting in? Are the Fighting Irish going to find themselves in on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about off camera, if BYU wins, no. That is the one certainty. If BYU wins, unless they do like unspeakable things to Texas Tech, which I don't think Texas Tech is going to lose that game, but if they do, I don't think they would fall all the way from 4 behind Notre Dame. So that would boot Notre Dame out of the field. If Texas Tech wins, I don't know what the committee is going to do. Some of it depends on what Alabama does against Georgia, but at that point, it's 2 of Notre Dame, Alabama, and Miami for 3 spots. And I don't think the committee would swap Notre Dame and Miami after being pretty consistent that they think Notre Dame's a better team. But I didn't think they would swap Notre Dame and Alabama, which Marcus Freeman was talking about that today. He's really confused and surprised by that. But it's such an unpredictable committee this year that I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's such an unpredictable field too. I mean, you've got so many teams on the bubble. It's going to be fun to see what happens this weekend in the old CFB world. I reiterate what I said off camera. Just no Texas. That team's not good.
Yeah.
Don't put them in the playoff. That's what I say. Payton, Kenny, any final words for our man Soble here?
I hate college basketball. It's like that.
I still like college basketball.
You're going to hate when Jason Crow doesn't start game 1 next year.
Bad gimmick. It's really
dangerous things.
I have one more quick question. I thought this was interesting too. Did Gates open his press conference talking about the attendance and the atmosphere of that? And have you heard any other coaches talk about that before?
Yes, actually. So not as explicitly as he did. So I don't know if you guys saw this clip or what I tweeted about it. So obviously Dennis was a Florida State assistant for however many years, and he coached at Notre Dame probably during the time that they were was he a FSU assistant 15, 16 around that time?
Yeah.
So he would have coached in South Bend when Notre Dame was making back-to-back Elite Eights, and that was when Mike Bray had that program humming. And
Pat Connaughton,
yeah, Bucks legend. And Bonzie Colson,
oh my
Demetrius
God,
Jackson, that crew.
Good
but
name.
Something with the structure of the Joyce Center where they play makes it a really tough place to play when that place is packed. And Dennis the student section was really good, but the rest of the stadium was kind of half empty. And he was like, you guys got to show up for these guys because it's a really tough place to play. And that was obviously interesting. Shrewsbury was asked about it. He and Gates, I think, have gotten to know each other. When they were both assistant for years, they were recruiting a lot of the same kids for a while. And I think they've become close, just coaching fraternity stuff. So I think he wanted to, kind of stand up for his buddy a little bit. But yeah, that was very interesting. And he did that was the first thing he said when he sat down at the table.
Well, I think Dennis has struggled with that plenty in his own building, so maybe he can relate to it a little bit with the student section disparity to the rest of the fans. But that's it. That's an interesting note.
If only there were an easy solution to get more people in the building for non-con. I can't think of anything.
$1 beer.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe
opponent people have heard of too would help.
You remember when they tried the whole go to more buy games and you get priority for the Kansas game?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was
and it didn't check a single
genius.
ticket.
It worked. It worked. Sobel, I have a quick quiz. I have a quick quiz for you that I meant
Yeah.
to ask because Mizzou's going to play Illinois, and I know at least I know Payton knows this, and I'm pretty confident Kenny knows this too. And you might as well. Maybe this is an easy question. Who will be the player that Mizzou will face on Illinois that they played in the ACC SEC Challenge last year?
Oh, is it Stojakovic?
It is Andrei Stojakovic, who
Yep.
suited up for Cal and is
He's
now
so
really,
good.
really, really, really good for Illinois. So
He was really, really good for Cal last year.
He
They
was.
So they came to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame won that game in 4 overtimes.
Oh, I remember that.
Tournament game?
No, that was just like I think the final regular season game.
Oh,
I think I texted you because wasn't it at night?
Yes, that was
And so
that
it
was
was
a
late.
night game. So that was actually originally scheduled for like 8 p.m. They moved it up to 4, thank God.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
better.
And Burton dropped 43. Then he fouled out in the 4th overtime, and Matalako went berserk.
Matalako.
So yeah, that was a wild, meaningless game between two teams that were going nowhere. But yeah, that's why I remember that Stojakovic was on Cal last year, and I vaguely remember that he went to Illinois.
Yeah, the Peterson recent injury and recency bias is now made. Like I'm almost more scared to face Stojakovic. That dude.
This is what I remember. I looked this up. So right after that 4 overtime game, 3 days later, Cal was in its first round game of the ACC tournament against Virginia Tech that went to 2 overtimes. So they played 6 overtimes combined in their 2 games. Cal did win that game. They won 82-73.
Nice.
We love 2024-25 ACC basketball.
Yeah, because then they won an advance to play Stanford in the ACC tournament.
Also, hey, that's the Andrei Stojakovic Bowl. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Started at Stanford.
They those 2 teams had to travel to the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina, Stanford and Cal in the ACC tournament.
Thank you, Sobel. We appreciate the time. We'll have you back on. I don't know. Maybe we'll give you a cameo if Notre Dame make the playoff, something like that.
Yeah. Be
We'll
more
give
than
him a
happy
quick.
to.
We'll give him an exclusive quick hit or something. A little Sobel cameo. But yes, we appreciate the time, and we will segue to quick hits. Finish off the show. Okay, quick hits time. It's time for a not so fun, but this is the season of jerseys of the week. Kenny, your jersey of the week.
My jersey of the week goes to Brendon Haygood, who plans to enter the transfer portal. He confirmed this as well, but sources did tell Sam Spielman first of Rivals about this happening. He was a 4-star in the 2025 class, but that running back room got pretty deep after the transfer portal. And he had a good year from Jamal Roberts as well. So if you can retain Jamal Roberts, Ahmad Hardy, of course, and then Marquise Davis, who you see as a running back of the future, that's a pretty good running back room for 2026 as well.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it there, Kenny. I mean, it sucks for Brendon Haygood. I'm sure he could be a pretty decent back somewhere else. But I mean, it kind of does seem like it speaks to their confidence, or at least his read of the situation with Hardy, Roberts, and Davis all in front of them. I think that would bode well for their chances of keeping all of them.
It's a stacked room. It happens. Payton carrying the theme. Oh, not carrying the theme. I think I'm carrying the theme.
Nope.
You have a more positive one.
Yep, I have a positive one. Chris McClellan was named SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week after Mizzou beat Arkansas with 27 passing yards. McClellan had 2 sacks, 3 is that total? That's total tackles, and 2 solo tackles. Yeah, he was very good. Had a very good year again. Again, very much a shame that Mizzou is going to wind up getting really not much out of the tenures of guys like Zion Young, Damon Wilson, if Damon Wilson leaves, and Chris McClellan, because they're very good players.
Very good players. Another one who I hope can, have a nice postseason surge in terms of draft buzz and things of that nature. I don't know if I've seen him. I haven't looked at any 7-round mock drafts, admittedly, but I don't know where he stands. But we'll have our resident draft expert on later on to dive into all that potentially. So good week for Chris McClellan. My jersey of the week, I'm back to the transfers. Another one that I don't think was too shocking. James Madison II is getting my jersey of the week. He is entering the transfer portal. 6 games over 2 seasons, I believe, for James Madison. Just, kind of ended up being left out of a pretty deep wide receiver room, even this year with the likes of Manning, obviously Olubade surging. So tough stuff. We will never forget the commitment videos and the signing videos. They were so iconic. And honestly, I have high hopes for James Madison. I really hope he sticks somewhere because he seems like a pretty a fun, a cool guy. Good. If you're watching on the YouTube, the top GIF in the replies is the Duke from the James Madison Dukes. That would be very fun if James Madison ended up at James Madison.
Yeah, I kind of chuckled under my breath a second ago because I was thinking about just the commitment video and just all of the like he was pretty much the hype man of that class. So
yeah,
I mean, it really does. It's a shame. I liked James Madison a lot, but that's just how it goes. Very deep room. I'm sure he can go and find somewhere else where he'll be a very productive player. And I like you said, I really hope the best for him because he was definitely Mizzou through and through.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this too, because we did have a segment where we talked about guys like unintentionally, like players that probably could leave the program. And he was one of them that we thought about. It wasn't like in a bad way. It's just like opportunity wasn't there. And this is like the best. This is the reason the transfer portal exists.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
That's these kids' opportunities.
That's what I have to tell myself. Like you think, I feel like your mind sometimes, especially maybe us who like, not to call us super old, but we know the old era of college football where you always you sometimes associate the transfer portal with like a bad thing. But this new era the fact is there's more opportunities. Players are moving teams all the time. And yeah, he'll, Kevin Coleman Jr., Mizzou's wide receiver 1 needed 3 teams to get back to his home state. So you never know how players' arcs go. And he seems like a guy who can definitely succeed wherever he ends up. So best of luck, Mr. James Madison.
I like
and
no
maybe
cap, he's the main bird.
Shawnee's main birds of the week. Kenny.
You just mentioned him, Kevin Coleman, former Louisville Cardinals. That's the bird connection there. He was the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week. Of course, had the 1 return touchdown for 67 yards and got a little shout out too from his special teams coordinator. Said, I think he said good job or congrats from Eric Link.
Yeah, I'd hope so. His player winning.
It was publicly, that's nice.
I'll
find it.
Another one who
just
alongside
a disgraceful week.
I always say congrats.
Teams, but Kevin Coleman is a great player.
Yeah, another one who, like Chris McClellan, I hope, I think this is the second show in a row I've said this. I hope a team.
I really think it's a shame that Mizzou just didn't get the stability at the quarterback position because Kevin Coleman definitely deserved it. He's a great player.
Great player. Payton, your main bird.
My main bird of the week is going to be the Iowa Hawkeyes because they are ranked in the College Football Playoff Committee rankings that everybody loves and nobody has a problem with at all. Among the highlights this week, Alabama and Notre Dame flipped. And I think that led to Marcus Freeman saying he was confused. We had Soble on. He doesn't really think Notre Dame's in any trouble so long as BYU loses to Texas Tech, which they have already done once this year. Texas is essentially out. I don't think there's any way they climb in, nor should they. I totally get Steve Sarkisian's argument. I agree with it, but at the same time, they lost to Florida.
I don't buy it at all.
No, his argument. I mean, if you want to absolutely destroy non-good non-con games, I mean, this is kind of going to be the argument for it. I mean, Texas would be in if they had just scheduled a nothing team there. But at the same time,
beat Florida and don't go to double overtime with Mississippi State.
Yeah, they went to overtime. There were 2 games this year where I thought they looked like a playoff team. Like even that 7-point loss to Ohio State was not a good performance. They looked like a playoff team against Vanderbilt, who they're in front of, which really sucks for Vanderbilt because I think pretty much every 10-2 SEC Big Ten team should be in, no questions asked, but they have no path. And I mean, they played great against A&M too, yes, but that's 2 games. So I do think Texas will be left out, but I do think it has more to do with how they played than them scheduling a marquee non-con.
I agree. Yeah, we all said the 10-2 would get you in, and looks like Vandy's gonna miss. Did you guys see the thing? Well, I hope I didn't get faked by the fake. Was that wasn't a fake Pete Thamel, was it? That they were gonna play another game, or was that fake?
No, that was
That
apparently
was real.
real.
Okay.
They were
'Cause I read the
get-
tweet, but I totally skimmed over Pete Thamel, and I didn't see if there was an accent mark over the E or something.
I mean, how would that have even worked? They would have had to get this whole game. These games are scheduled years in advance.
Someone said, yeah, how hard is it to just call Utah and book a high school field and the TV cameras will show up? It's like, that's not how any of that works.
Yeah, I'm sure Vanderbilt and Utah are really anxious to have them go play on a high school field, by the way.
Yeah.
But just that would have been interesting, and I think the committee would not have taken it into account at all, to be honest with you. But again, doesn't matter at this point. Vanderbilt is almost certainly out.
If they got the number 1 quarterback, though, Curtis, right?
That is not 100% nailed
Yeah,
down.
it is.
I don't think. Is it?
He signed. Yeah, he
He
signed.
did sign with Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Jared Curtis.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't see. I thought he had.
He announced it too. He had a very nice
He's
3-page.
from Nashville, isn't he? Or from
Yeah,
Tennessee?
right outside Nashville.
So there you go. Recruiting. Cycle it all the way back. My main bird of the week will be the Kansas Jayhawks. We did not do a full Kansas preview. We kind of speculated about it with Soble, but I figured I'd do it here with my main bird. Mizzou, of course, will play Kansas in Kansas City on Saturday. I don't think too many are super excited for that game. Kansas did just lose to UConn. That said, they kept it a single-digit game. They did blow a lead. They were up by I think double figures a couple times in the first half, but they did keep it pretty close with them without Darren Peterson, who was apparently, per Bill Self, was like 90 to 95% healthy. He has a hamstring injury. They're not going to put him out there unless he's 100%. They've been pretty clear on that. Of course, that is going to mean it's timed up perfectly that he's going to return for Mizzou, probably. That's not me basing that on anything. I'm just speculating.
He's not reporting.
I'm not reporting. I'm speculating. Pure karma will give that to Mizzou. But I was looking at Kansas as kind of optics. They're number 17 in Ken Palm, number 18 in Torvik. And actually, our handy dandy Torvik has this game much more in favor of Kansas. They have them winning 77-69. Ken Palm still at 75-73 KU.
Very good.
Number 10 defense for Kansas. They're also number 5 in opponent 3-point percentage. Teams are shooting less than 25% against the Jayhawks. So those are my big numbers. Players to watch if you don't want to know, or if you exclude Peterson. Badunga has had a really, really good year. They have Trey White, Melvin Council Jr., who had transferred from somewhere. I forget where it was, but they're a good team. St. Bonaventure, the Fighting Adrian Wojnarowskis.
Ooh, Kenny. Ooh.
That's right.
He went to Wagner before that. That's an ooh for you, Payton.
Go Seahawks.
Why is that a ooh for me?
Seahawks.
Oh, he's gone. Bryson Tiller's a really good freshman. They're really deep. They have a guy. Badunga's been the surprise for me. I didn't think he'd make this much of a leap, and he absolutely has. So Bill Self still has it. My preseason take on Kansas is looking very wrong. It's going to be a tough game, fellas. Tough game.
Oh, yeah, the mighty Jayhawks. They have a 6.67 winning percentage. Hang the banner now, folks. Kansas is back. They're 6-3.
I'm not saying they're all the way.
All right.
I'm not saying they're all the way back.
I'm totally
but...
trolling. They're going to probably smoke Missouri on Sunday. I'm not at all confident in Missouri's chances in this one because Missouri would have to show me things that they have not shown this year. Like, I don't know, having a big man that's worth a damn. I don't think Phillips and Northweather are going to be capable of guarding Badunga at all. I think that's going to be a huge issue. They're not gonna have Jaden Stone, who I think has been probably their most reliable offensive guy besides Mark Mitchell. You could make the argument for Cruz.
I'll lobby for Cruz a little bit. I'll lobby for him a little bit.
At worst, he's third best, and they don't have him. It doesn't appear we have any clarity on the Trent Pierce situation. So I'd assume they're not going to have him on Sunday. And even if they get him, the last thing I want to see is someone coming and making their season debut against the Kansas Jayhawks. So I'm not very optimistic. I just hope they keep it relatively close.
I meant to say that when we were talking with Soble was, when looking at that last play with Sean Phillips having to close out on the shooter whose name I'm forgetting from Notre Dame who knocked down that three. Serta, thank you. Who would have been perfect sitting in that spot would have been Trent Pierce.
Well, we've seen Trent Pierce in that exact same situation, and Vanderbilt knocked down a game-tying three. So
it's a fair point.
Know about that.
That guy's still on Vanderbilt, by the way. Tyler Nickel. Remember the name? Because
yeah, I already did.
Don't
worry. Yeah, Cole Serta. Yeah, man. I mean, I was shocked when I looked at the box score again and saw that Sean Phillips only had 2 rebounds in that game. I mean, goodness gracious. They just are so. I mean, he's been a roller coaster ride. So hopefully it's on the incline on Sunday, because otherwise Badunga is going to eat Missouri alive.
It will be a interesting ride on Sunday. Kenny? Oh, I thought you were gonna. Oh no, you have your best thing. You have your best
I had nothing to add. I'll watch the game and I'll give you my thoughts after Payton pulls his hair out in the
live on air.
He's gonna go back to the Mohawk.
Payton, will you do something if Mizzou wins on air?
Yeah, I'll get on the show.
Oh, get a Mohawk.
No.
Mohawk bet. Come on, let's do a Mohawk bet.
I'm not putting anything on this game. There's nothing in it for me. What do I get if Missouri wins?
You're so confident Mizzou losing.
That's
if
what
Mizzou wins, do a Mohawk.
Yeah, you got to do something.
No.
You're boring.
What do I get if Missouri loses then?
Wait, no. Nothing. You get a Mohawk.
You can be exempt.
You said get a Mohawk if they win.
I was going to say it could be
No, I
exempt.
said you get a Mohawk if they lose.
No, you
if
didn't.
If they win, then you just get the happiness of a win.
Yeah. That's what you get.
I'm not doing that.
All right, whatever.
Anyways,
what'd you learn? Either of you.
Not me.
Okay, I thought we were going to intro the segment. It's best thing.
I did. I said, what'd you learn?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's on me then. I was flummoxed by Kenny's Mohawk bet, and I'm still trying to figure out what he meant by the Wagner thing.
There was nothing. Just
nothing. All right. Glad that came out. Best thing I learned this week, former future Missouri Tiger, Devin Williams. He's staying in New York, but he's going to Queens. 3-year, $51 million deal with the Mets. Apparently that's not gonna take them out of the Edwin Diaz stakes, but I can't imagine they're gonna have like a $150 million bullpen or whatever it would cost to keep Diaz. Devin Williams was just a mess last year. There's really no other way to put it. I don't think I've ever seen a reliever just have that much of a negative impact on their season. I mean, he was so good on the Brewers, though. So, I mean, it's clearly just the Mets think it's just to throw it out here. David Stearns, he's the Mets president of baseball ops. So there's familiarity there. He used to be in Milwaukee before he left because he realized Milwaukee Brewers organization not good. So yeah, Devin Williams going to Queens. I cannot wait to see the reaction from Twitter when he blows his first save. I really can't.
I got a couple things. He's been in a bullpen before with another closer. He was with Josh Hader, of course, going back to the Brewers.
Right.
Josh Hader also left Milwaukee.
Everybody leaves Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, look at Jack. He's not in Milwaukee anymore.
I like when you guys talk baseball usually, but now we've just turned this into. Also, Devin Williams loves helping the Mets, so maybe this will be good for him.
It's true. Pete Alonso's home run a couple years ago.
He'll give some Pete Alonso some good BP.
My second thing, Payton, you said that you couldn't expect or believe. I think you said something like that about the Mets spending $150 million.
I can't imagine they're going to.
Look at who's the owner.
I know. Cohen's
he has unlimited money. I think he said
very aggressive owner, but I just can't imagine, but we'll see.
Third one. I saw it as a joke, but what do you guys think? Do you think the Yankees should go back to no facial hair?
No, because Garrett Cole looks way cooler with facial hair. Don't you think?
Yeah, like his best years, he had a beard. He
Yeah,
was also wearing
Boras
orange
Corp.
and blue.
I say no to embrace the facial hair.
Do you like his Boras Corp hat?
Manningly, shave those sideburns.
I know the actual story behind that, but I can't say it.
All right, say what you learned.
Best thing I learned this week. I thought this was cool. The Tiger Kickoff Show. I was on this once when I was in college. It brought Moon Choi on the program.
Look at that,
He
the
was talking about-
second Missouri-affiliated program to have Moon Choi on.
You know what they
So-
say, imitation sincerest form.
I was thinking about that. Mizzou posted us. You remember that?
Yes, they did. Kenny, you're never gonna find
Yeah,
it.
how are
Like,
you gonna
I'll
find
find
that?
the
We're
tweet.
we're
I remember
so
what it
old.
said. Right here.
Yeah,
Oh,
there we are. They didn't mention our show, but that is
That's
us.
fine.
I actually do you remember this? Because I wasn't nervous at all before we talked to President Choi, and then like I was sitting outside of the student center because if you look at the tweet, it's from 2:25 p.m.
Yep.
and our show is at 3 p.m. every Friday. And someone, I don't even think I saw the tweet, someone texted it to me and said, "Oh, Mizzou tweeted that he's coming on y'all's show. Like that's sick." And that's when my heart like went in my stomach. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like for some reason, I was like, "Everyone's gonna listen to the show," which is not true. It got 24 likes. So
Yeah, that was a very electric day. And shout out, Moon Choi was an excellent, gracious guest.
He was. He was
gave
very
us
nice.
a great interview. We didn't ask him like just softball after softball either. We asked him like that was in the middle of like the tough basketball season. That was in the middle of like we asked him about like Drinkwitz and everything. He gave us good answers to it. So shout out President Choi. Definitely always has a spot reserved for him on the unwritten rule if he wants it.
and cool for,
usually
and actually,
surprised.
oh sorry. Yes, yeah, twice. He came out at the next year too. Repeat guest or a recurring guest. But shout out to the Tiger Kickoff show. That is fun that he went on theirs as well. And
Next thing you know, they're gonna start saying Can Quinn.
Can Campbell aged like bad like expired milk. That was a bad one.
Or
Yeah.
an expired can of Campbell.
can of Campbell's, which actually takes a while to expire. So
Still expired.
does that analogy work? All right. The best thing I learned this week, I'm deviating fully from a left turn. I'll read it as a headline. Clippers part ways with Chris Paul. What we know about bizarre overnight move involving team legend. I say best thing. I am not trying to dunk on Chris Paul for getting cut from the team he wanted to retire from, to clarify. But this was just wild stuff. The Clippers, who Chris Paul joined this year at the age of 40 to essentially play one season and then retire, just cut him. And they cut him at like, I guess they met with him like at 11 at night after some travel delays, had a 3-hour meeting and told him he was gone. And I guess actually to clarify, they haven't fully cut him. They just said, you're not on the team anymore. I think they might try to trade him. Just wild and kind of reeks, obviously, Chris Paul, whatever you think of him or not, there was a ton of tension within the organization. I guess he beefed pretty heavily with Tyronn Lue, their coach. But I mean, Chris Paul is the Clippers. Like all of their success in the 2010s was led by him. And yeah, so they did him pretty dirty for a player who is kind of a legend. You know, there's a lot of layers to this story, but it was pretty wild to see him just essentially get kicked off of a team he was trying to retire with at the end of the year.
Did not know they were 5-16.
They are very bad. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kenny, I'm sorry. I know this probably hits you really hard. That's like the only time you cared about the Rockets, really.
I stopped caring about the Rockets once he left. When they got Russell Westbrook. I remember I was talking to Zach on the phone. I told him, and he just like didn't believe me. That was like that's when everything kind of went downhill from there. That was a good era of basketball. Can you explain this to me in like football terms? Maybe like, is there a football player that would go back for a year and then they would just cut him?
I mean, am I being led on to say something here, Payton? Help me. I don't
maybe
know.
like I don't know
if he's trying to do.
No, I'm not leading him on at all. I'm sorry.
I mean, it'd be like
Terrell
I guess
Owens.
it'd be like if
maybe?
CJ Stroud took the Texans to like
No.
3 AFC championships, then
What if,
Juwan
like-
Hernandez career and they cut him.
Is Chris Paul a Hall of Famer? He's a Hall of Famer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He will be a Hall of Famer.
What if J.J. Watt went back to the Texans? They cut him in week 12.
I guess. Yeah.
That's a
too
good
much?
comp, actually, because
that's probably a
he
good
didn't
one.
ever win anything of value with them, but he's fondly remembered there. And then he had a really, really people, I think everyone, including himself, would like to forget Cardinal stint. But the thing about Chris Paul is, I mean, he had the Hornet stint that was pretty good, the Clippers stint, the Rocket stint was great.
The Suns.
He's been in a lot of
He
different
went to a
places.
he went to a
Yeah,
finals
the
with
Suns
the Suns.
one, he was actually, that's the closest he was to a finals.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't know if it's really there's a perfect. That's why I said Terrell Owens, because Terrell Owens played for so many different teams. You think of him mostly as like to me an Eagle or a Cowboy. So it'd be like maybe if he went back to one of those two and got cut.
Yeah.
Really
It's
quickly.
it regardless
I
of
don't know if he does,
regardless of everyone that or of whatever happened behind the scenes, it was a bizarre decision, and not the first time the Clippers have done this too. I mean, they traded Blake Griffin, another part of that like Lob City Clippers era, after he signed an extension. So, Clippers, they will do their thing. There you go. That was the best thing I learned, because it was just kind of wild national news. All right, best beats of the week. Shout out to FanDuel. We all hit on our beats last week. Payton had the Panthers plus 10.5. They beat the Rams, so covered and then some. So there you go, Payton. The Texans turning it around, beat the Colts, covered, and I had the Niners, who also won. I tried to emotionally hedge with them, and
Kenny's beat
The bet
like
hit.
the 8 regular season ones is gonna hit, like absolutely.
yeah,
I have one in here
looks like
too
it.
that you guys told me to make red, but I left it as blue. It was just Houston make the playoffs, which could happen.
Yeah, that one definitely. They can win the division now. I mean, the
Yeah.
Colts are imploding. What is your beat this week, Payton? Because we know what Kenny's is.
My beat is I bet against the Rams last week. I'm gonna bet for them now. I am going to take the Rams minus 8.5 over the Arizona Cardinals.
Copy and pasting
I think
again.
they're in for a big bounce back week. I think that the Cardinals are just one of the most existing, like nobody thinks about them teams in the NFL. I think they're just kind of treading water at this point. So I think the Rams get a big bounce back. They also should be the 1 seed. They have the strength of schedule and strength of resume edge over the Bears, so the committee should take that into account.
Committee.
So I think the Rams will go out and prove it this weekend.
We should talk about this real quick. Did you see this, Jack? From Payton?
No.
He's
What did
in
he
there
tweet?
somewhere.
Is he trying to emotionally hedge himself against out of the 1 seed? Is he trying to?
Where are you, Peyton? You've liked something recently.
Maybe you can Google my name.
Google me. I
Google
win.
me.
What did he do?
I got 10K likes on a tweet of what
Oh.
I just said on the show.
Look at that.
Or a
Wait,
post.
scroll up. I didn't. What does the tweet say? Strength of schedule, strength of victory. Yeah,
The
hopefully
Rams
NFL
have the edge
player-
over the Bears.
Oh, that's a good tweet. That's a good tweet.
If only there was another tiebreaker that could explain why the Bears are above them. It blows my mind.
That is insane. Like, this is not that the playoffs are not decided by a committee in the NFL. It literally has the tiebreaker right next to it as reason.
Yeah.
But the red circle says otherwise. That's good. Good job, Peyton. You owned that guy. Ratio of the week.
Oh, it could be ratio of the week. Maybe we're early on this.
Yeah.
Boy, look at that 2 and 3 on that jersey.
Ramzilla. That's a good.
Look at the NFL logo. AI, man.
AI
Coming
is
for us.
bad. I'm not afraid to say it
It's coming for us.
in this show.
Oh, yeah.
Did he
that
respond
clip
to
will
you?
that clip is in the ether forever now. All right, maybe we should move on, Kenny.
I think it's fun. All right, my best beat of the week, of course. I was really going back and forth. I didn't even ask my good pal, Zach Hernandez, super
Why?
Texans fan. I don't
Did
know. I
something
just,
happen between you two?
yeah.
What?
I don't want to talk about it on the show. The Texans, I do take +3.5, and I feel like this is very risky. It's in Arrowhead. It's on Sunday night.
It's a
The
big
Chiefs
game.
signed a former Texans running back, and Dameon Pierce got all of the secrets. I don't know. But I'm going to go Texans +3.5. This Texans team is rolling. This defense will give this Chiefs offense some fits. It hasn't been the best Chiefs offense this year.
It's a
Yeah, that's
huge
not
game.
hitting.
All right, you want to make a bet? If it hits, you get a Mohawk.
Nope, not putting anything on that.
Well, because you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in the bet.
What will you put something on? I'm gonna change my best beat to
Not
something. you
that.
put something
Pretty
on.
much nothing. I'm not into wagers like this.
You're not in. Okay, let's. Yeah.
He's not into Mohawk wagers. He's not. He doesn't want to alter himself on a wager.
Oh, Kenny's so mad. He's gonna.
Because he's a coward.
He's gonna delete all my. He's gonna delete all my bets.
I'm not
because he
deleting them. I'm
thinks he's being
highlighting them.
tough.
I'm showing you them.
Mickey Mouse.
Highlight.
I like to guess. I don't like to actually. I'm not putting my Mohawk on a game I don't have
You had
any
one
emotional
before.
investment in.
Well, it's fitting you showed that tweet, Kenny, because I'm betting on the Bears this week. My beat is the Chicago Bears. They are currently +6.5 point underdogs against the Packers. Huge game. This feels kind of like the final hurdle for the Bears. They have to beat the Packers. Otherwise, the Packers fans will just laugh at them at their little run at the 1 seed. Payton, I know you're going to say nothing, but I'm going to ask how you're feeling going into this game anyway.
Yeah, this bet's not hitting. The Bears have been coasting for a couple weeks now. I think this is finally where they're knocked back into reality. I think that the Packers win pretty handily.
I will say,
just type it. It cannot be anything.
No, do we have a Bears one?
Bears is over
recently.
there +2.5 on
+2.5.
11-16.
And what was the new one?
It's
What's
6.5. And here's my
6.5,
thing.
yeah.
I kind of agree with you, Peyton, in the I think the Packers will win. The Bears have been too good for me. That number just felt a little too big. I think they can come within that and at least keep it, a 1-score game and under a touchdown in this. But I do agree with you. I think this is just the spot where the Packers always do this. But every trend's got to break at some point, Peyton. What are you going to do if they win? Will you get a Mohawk?
I'll be happy.
All right, we're gonna ask you if they win. We'll come back. We'll revisit.
I'm not
this.
getting a Mohawk. Just drop the Mohawk thing. It ain't happening. You ain't
I hope-
seeing me in a Mohawk.
I hope
Kenny
the Bears
has seen
win.
me in a Mohawk. I was in 2nd grade. Yep, I sent you the photo.
I've never seen the photo. You said you've been looking for it for like years.
No, I
now.
literally sent it to you. You're the worst liar in the world.
I don't remember. I don't have any recollection of you in a Mohawk. I just know you had one.
Okay, well, I've sent the photo to Kenny. I can even think of it. There was a flash photography on like the printout photo. Kenny's
I
lying.
believe you. What's your joke, Peyton? Why is it the Packers?
This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Guys, did you hear about the broken guitar for sale?
He couldn't string together the funds.
You're on the right track with strings.
I don't know.
Any guesses, Kenny?
No.
Kenny is opting out. Did you hear about the broken guitar for sale?
Then you better go
comes
catch it.
with no strings attached.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all right.
Good joke.
Thank you.
Shout
Wow.
out. Sorry, I really should know her name like by heart at this point.
Sarah?
Sarah Lemire, I think it is.
Sarah Lemire, who
Hang
may
on,
or
I'm
may
working
not still
on
work at the
confirm.
Today Show. We don't know.
Sarah Lemire. Shout out Sarah Lemire.
Thank you,
No
Sarah.
longer Al Roker credit. We know who.
Thank you,
actually-
Sarah. All right, that'll do it. We'll come back on Monday. We will talk Mizzou, Kansas. We will talk some more hoop. Probably we'll know the bowl game for Mizzou football. Very exciting
Really?
things.
Do those get announced on Sunday?
Yeah, it all comes
Oh.
out Sunday.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it's after championship week. Oh, you're kidding. Okay.
I didn't remember that.
We'll know the bowl game. We'll know Kansas. We'll talk about Peyton's Bears if they win.
We will not.
Maybe the Texans too. I will. That'll do it. Thank you for listening, watching. We appreciate it. We will see you next time.